Alright, hey guys, Pax, welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. As the title states, we'll be going over the new non-EX Darkrai card. This card provides as amazing disruption and gets a ton of value, especially for a non-EX. So yeah, this is Darkrai right here, HP 100, basic of course. Has 1 attack, Dark Slumber, requires 3 colorless energy, does 40 base damage, and after attacking your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Now what makes this card extremely viable is the ability, Bad Dreams. At the end of each turn, if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, do 20 damage to that Pokemon. And this stacks, so if you have 2 Darkrai's on the field, you are doing 40 damage each turn. So yeah, the damage definitely does add up. This is the deck right here. I'll show a slightly different variation towards the end of the video. If you guys are new to my channel, really do consider if you like and subscribe. Really does help me out, especially as a small-time content creator. And without further ado, let's get right in to the deck showcase. Alright, first battle, going second up against the Mega Gengar Ex solo deck. If you guys are new to my deck showcases, first battle isn't really meant to be too hard, more so just to get the feel for the deck. So ideally for this deck, you do want to lead with Igglybuff. We are going second, and looking at our hand, we got Lucia and a Pokeball, meaning that we can get the majority of our basic Pokemon out, and a rare candy as well. So we could be just super aggressive. We shall see. First Lucia, and then Pokeball. We got 2 Igglybuffs, which is pretty nice. Pokeball, this will be huge if you can get a Darkrai. Nice. Look at that. So we have 2 options here. We can either be super aggressive with Scatterbug, so either way we have to feed. We could attack in the next turn if you pull Vivillon, doing 80 damage. Keep in mind, because of Darkrai, this amazing ability, doing an extra 20 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep. But honestly, we can just play it like this. So place 2 Igglybuffs down, sub this guy in, doing 30 damage. So doing this, and amazing disruption as well. So my opponent has to coin flip. If they get tails, that will be huge. They get heads, but it's fine. I mean, doing 30 is still pretty nice, especially for a baby Pokemon. The damage does definitely add up. Opponent subs into Chingling. Look at this. This feels extremely unfair. At this point, I might as well feed Scatterbug. For Vivillon, you're primarily attacking with that Pokemon towards the middle to late game with 2 Darkrai's out on your field. You're doing 110 damage. And on top of that, your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep. So if they fail that coin flip, they can't attack their turn, get into your turn, and then do 110 yet again. And the cycle repeats itself. So yes, this deck requires a bit of RNG, but just like this, one-shotting Chingling, yeah, very nice to see this with Darkrai's ability. So yeah, it requires a lot of RNG, but when it comes to sleep has definitely screwed me a lot of times in this game. Like, it seems very inconsistent. It is a 50% chance your opponent will get heads, but still, the amount of times I've been screwed over because of sleep. If you watch my previous deck showcase with, coincidentally enough, with Mega Gengar EX, yeah, I was asleep for like 5 turns in a row. It was really painful. Gengar was built already, but couldn't attack. So at this point, might as well start feeding Darkrai. Might as well copycat. Hopefully I can get Sabrina yet again. That could definitely be my win condition. But I do want to get Darkrai, another Darkrai. And just like this, starting planes, making so that Ghastly cannot one-shot. So yeah, granted, I mean, the deck my opponent is using isn't that good, but you see how this deck works. You primarily want to lead with Igglybuff, have Darkrai's in your bench, just doing extra damage. Ideally 2 would be nice. Once Igglybuff dies, sub in another one. Once that guy dies, sub in Scatterbug, and just sweep your opponent. Because starting planes, Chingling does survive, but it's fine. If my opponent failed that coin flip, then Chingling would have been dead. But just like this, feed Darkrai yet again, Sleepy Lullaby. And next turn, I can just Cyrus and then one-shot Ghastly. Rest in peace, Igglybuff, but look at this. This deck is so much fun, especially since it's a non-EX deck, so you can just take your time. If your Igglybuff gets knocked out, it's really not the end of the world. You can definitely still bounce back. Attack, and look at this. This guy's attack ability is pretty nice. Poison and Sleep. Very similar to Mega Venusaur EX. If anything, this might be, you want to call this kind of like a pocket Mega Venusaur EX. Just like this. 20. And then another 20. 110 in total. If my opponent fails a coin flip, I do 50 more damage at the end of my opponent's next turn. So yeah, with that being said, we shall see how this deck performs in PvP. All right, here we are in PvP battle, going first, which is not the worst since, of course, Igglybuff, being a baby Pokemon, can attack our first turn. Oh boy, okay. Might be a mirror match. Opponent is using Metal type though. Not that bad of a starting hand. At this point, I might as well play starting planes. Not really helping us, but just in case my opponent does decide to copycat. Does buff Darkrai a little bit, but it should be fine, depending on this coin flip. So Sleepy, Lullaby. Only doing 30, but again, the damage definitely does add up. Opponent does get the coin flip. Damn. Okay, that's rough. So they could retreat, but either way, if you want, we could definitely just Cyrus and just mess up my opponent. Okay, yeah, not too bad. So Okay, yeah, hand could definitely be a bit better. Next turn, we might as well copycat. At this point, start feeding Darkrai isn't as disruptive, of course, as Vivillon, but you're still able to do 60, which is pretty nice. 80 if you have another one in the bench. Sleepy Lullaby, yet again. If my opponent fails this coin flip, then we can one-shot Darkrai next turn. Just like that. So Darkrai takes 40 damage at the end of my opponent's turn. Attack again. GG. Nice. Okay, so opponent is using Axew. Very scary because of Iris. Could get 2 points using Iris, knocking out this one Igglybuff. So you gotta play this a bit carefully. We do get a Scatterbug. Yeah, I'm just gonna play it like this. Very scary. Anything can happen. Sleepy Lullaby. Opponent does get heads, which is pretty rough. But at this point, this guy's on the brink of death. Okay, opponent feeds Axew. We are very close to getting Vivillon out. At this point, feed Darkrai. Sabrina just to add a bit of disruption because Darkrai, you could one-shot, but Haxorus is very scary. So yeah, Sleepy Lullaby. Opponent gets Tails. Plays down Igglybuff. Tails the sleep check yet again. Doesn't matter because, I mean, I'm going to apply it yet again right now. Yeah, that is rough. We aren't able to get Vivillon just yet. We have 3 more cards left. I'm going to Lucia, and if anything, next turn, I might copycat just to thin out my deck. We don't really have to evolve into Vivillon this turn, so yes, playing this very slow. It's very disruptive overall. Yeah, failing the coin flip yet again. So regardless, this guy's gonna die. If we don't get Vivillon out, we can just sub in Darkrai and just bully my opponent's Haxorus. That is, I feel bad for this guy. Again, concedes. Yeah, they really can't do anything. We got 0 points. What was that, like turn 12? Turn 10, got 0 points, but Igglybuff is so disruptive. I honestly don't blame this guy for surrendering. In rank, this deck will actually be a nightmare. You're actually going to have bad dreams dreaming about this Nani X right here. All right, next battle. Going first, leading with Darkrai, which is not ideal. Ideally, you don't want to lead with Darkrai, but we do have 1 copy of Leaf, which will make it so that we can, of course, retreat out of this pitch black Pokemon. This guy is not the Nightmare Pokemon. This officially the pitch black Pokemon. Nice. All right, this is pretty awkward. We got 2 Darkrai's on the field. At this point, might as well Lucia setting up for next turn. Nice, we got Igglybuff and Scatterbug. We might be screwed here, boys. So Teal Mask Ogerpon is pretty much a hard counter to this deck. Instead of having 2 Darkrai's, you can very much run this Pokemon. I'll show that version for the last battle of this deck showcase. But yes, this guy essentially negates special conditions. Yeah, we might be in trouble. Not gonna lie, this is not looking good on our part. I'm just gonna do this for now. Feed Darkrai in the bench. But there's really nothing we could do. My opponent is probably gonna win this. So yeah, with that being said, just to save you guys some time, I'm just gonna fast forward until things get more interesting. Right, so a couple of turns later, Igglybuff does get knocked out. And yeah, this Darkrai, as you can see, is immune to any special condition because of Ogerpon buffing it. The only way we win is if my opponent does surrender. This Pokemon has to transcend the game and put my opponent into a dark slumber. That's the only way we win, because looking at this, Darkrai's asleep, getting chipped, failing the coin flip as well. So this guy is gonna die next turn. That's nice. And just like that, GG. If anything, we can take out this Darkrai. Yeah, why not? So yeah, I'll definitely go over this variant towards the end of this deck showcase. I primarily want to show this variant specifically because of just maximizing Darkrai's ability, having 2 of them out. So yeah, there are ways for your opponent to work around the sleep and poison effect with cards such as you can see, Teal Mask Ogerpon, as well as PC Lady. PC Lady does negate status conditions. All right, next battle. I'm gonna do one more battle after this using the variation with Teal Mask Ogerpon. So going first. Okay. So we might get an insane lead if you can pull a Darkrai, which we do have a high chance since we do have 2 Pokeballs. We could just win right now, actually. Hold up. If I can get 1 Darkrai. Okay. GG. 2 more battles because this one is relatively fast, but yeah, very disruptive. As you can see, you can just instantly win depending on your opponent's starting field. All right, next battle. Opponent is using Popplio. Hand can definitely be a bit better, but we do have Lucia, which means that we are guaranteed to get at least 1 Igglybuff, or actually 2 of them. Nice. Yeah, there we go. Poison Barb with this Igglybuff, and end our turn. Next turn, we can just sub out of Scatterbug, and then Igglybuff can start doing some decent disruption. All right, opponent feeds Popplio, gets Lapras in the bench. At this point, I'm just gonna copycat. Not gonna starting planes because I'm buffing my opponent's Lapras. And there we go. We do get Darkrai, so feed Scatterbug, retreat into this Igglybuff, and attack. Nice. My opponent does fail the coin flip, so Popplio cannot attack, cannot one-shot Igglybuff. Does PC Lady, however. Okay, this might be an issue, but we have a second copy of Igglybuff, so PC Lady is out of the game. We need to prioritize getting Vivillon out. So Professor's Research, hopefully we can get a rare candy. No rare candies, but we are able to get our second copy of Darkrai. And just like this, Popplio is gone. Yeah, doing 60 plus that poison, so 20. And to finish it off, 10 damage from poison. Alright, so opponent places Manaphy in the bench, uses Serena, attacks with Lapras. Next turn, Igglybuff might get knocked out, but look at this. Rare candy into Vivillon. Feed Vivillon. Retreat. Copycat. We have all our cards. My opponent has 8 cards remaining. And just like this, attack, doing 110. Yeah, so very disruptive, very fun. Yeah, rest in peace, Lapras. This Lapras didn't see it coming. I feel so bad. Rest in peace, Manaphy. You know what? Here we go. Igglybuff, you take it away. Taking the final point. Yeah. So granted, my opponent, the deck they're using isn't really that good. Looking at the layout, I mean, there's at least one Mega apparently, but still, as you can see, Igglybuff plus Vivillon plus Darkrai provides as insane disruption as well as amazing chip damage, and the chip damage definitely does add up. Alright, last battle. Going second for this deck variant, I am using one copy of Teal Mask Ogerpon. I replaced one of the Pokeballs for that one copy, so not too bad. We do have Lucia, so we can get Scatterbug as well as another Igglybuff next turn. Opponent's using Ghastly. Okay, the deck showcase comes full circle. Damn, that's insane. Opponent X speeds, Copycat's getting an insane lead. So with Lucia only doing 10 damage, not able to do max damage since we don't have a Darkrai out, which is why, of course, for this deck, you do want to have basically a Darkrai in your bench turn 1, but nevertheless still doing a bit of disruption, unless my opponent does get heads. Okay, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm assuming this Ghastly will be cannon fodder. My opponent most likely will feed the one in the bench. Nice, we did get one Darkrai though, so we can be pretty aggressive, especially if we can get 2 Darkrai's. Okay, for now, all we can do is this. Might as well feed and then attack. Opponent gets tails as well, so at the end of my opponent's next turn, if they don't evolve, this Ghastly gets knocked out. Opponent, rare candies into this Mega Gengar. Does recover from sleep, but what is my opponent doing? We can just keep on bullying this guy. Yeah, at this point, feed Darkrai and attack. And if my opponent gets tails, we can just keep on just perpetually bullying him. Does get heads, which is pretty rough, but we do have a Cyrus, so we could pull it back into the active, and hopefully by then we can get the Vivillon. We do get Sabrina though. Okay, so feed is Darkrai, attack. We need to get tails. If you don't get tails, then there's actually a chance that my opponent's Mega Gengar will go on a massacre. Okay. I mean, regardless, they needed an X speed. All right, opponent ends their turn. That's all they do. Feed this Gengar, end their turn. Coin flip. Does get heads, but it doesn't matter. Second coin flip doesn't matter because we are gonna put this Gengar back to sleep. We do get this guy, so hopefully he can start attacking in a couple of turns. Yeah, just chill like this. We need to get heads. One more heads, please. All right, here we go. Can we get tails yet again? Okay, of course. Opponent gets heads, so that's rough. We can't get out Vivillon. Yep, rest in peace, Igglybuff. Sub this guy in. If it weren't for this guy's attack ability, we could have just subbed into Mega Gengar and just taken the point. So for now, just do this. And here we go. This is where the fun begins. If opponent gets tails, that is huge. How many cards do I have? I have 5 cards left. All right, just doing passive chip damage. Nice, you love to see that. Gets tails, but again, doesn't matter. Oh, but GG. Opponent didn't attack, so their attack ability doesn't pop off, which means it's free game. It is free game. Darkrai, you take it away. You are the chase card. The star of the show. Cyrus, just like this, doing 60. Yeah, you get 1 extra energy. Attack, only doing 40, but again, active Pokemon's asleep. 20 to finish it off. So yeah, that's the Vivillon / Darkrai EX deck. Overall, this deck requires a bit of RNG, as you can see with the coin flip. Your opponent could just keep on getting heads each time. A literal Insomniac just not able to fall asleep. That could happen, but again, it's ultimately up to RNG. And in the grand scheme of this game, 1 turn could determine if you're going to win or lose. So yeah, this deck, as non-EXs go, it does feel very unique. As you can see from my right banner, the kid is basically your opponents. Darkrai is just causing them nightmares, giving them bad dreams, just messing them up, which will cross over to real life. After your game ends, later on in the night when your opponent does go to sleep, they're going to be dreaming about you, and more specifically Darkrai. How annoying and how much fun this guy is. This is the deck list with Ogerpon, and without it, of course, just replace Ogerpon with one of the Pokeballs. But yeah, overall, I'd rate this deck A+. Yes, because this deck really depends on how popular cards that counter sleep will be viable in this meta. And since Darkrai is looking to be extremely effective in this current meta, I wouldn't be surprised if more people ran Teal Mask Ogerpon, PC Lady, Steel Apron, even Big Malasada. Yeah, a trainer card that only heals 10, but also removes a random special condition from your active Pokemon. So yeah, for now, I'd rate this deck A+ tier, very close to S, because it's just so good at what it does. It's a non-EX, you're leading with Igglybuff, a baby Pokemon for majority of the game, taking it rather slow. I feel like using this deck, depending on your opponent's deck, especially if you're going up against like a Mega EX, the games might feel very slow paced, but you're doing slow chip damage over time, and again, that chip damage does definitely add up. And yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you guys found this video informative, as well as a bit entertaining. I try to be. Again, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. It really does help me out, both mentally and physically, as I always say. And yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Peace.